Have you ever heard of a story that seems straight out of a Hollywood movie? Picture this: Beverly Hills, a lavish mansion, 2 handsome sons, and wealthy parents. It sounds like the perfect American dream, right? But on the night of August 20th, 1989, that dream shattered into a million pieces. This is the chilling story of the Menendez brothers. That night, Lyle and Erik Menendez, then 21 and 18, made a frantic 911 call. They claimed they had just returned home from a movie to find their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez, brutally murdered in the family's den. The scene was horrific. Jose, a successful entertainment executive, and Kitty, a former beauty queen, had been shot multiple times. The police initially suspected a mob hit or a business deal gone wrong. After all, who would want to harm this picture-perfect family? Lyle and Erik played the part of grieving sons perfectly. They sobbed at the funeral, supported each other, and seemed utterly devastated. But in the months that followed, their behavior started raising eyebrows. The brothers went on a wild spending spree, blowing through an estimated $1 million of their parents' fortune in just 6 months. They bought luxury cars, Rolex watches, designer clothes, and even a restaurant. Lyle bought a Porsche, while Erik hired a full-time tennis coach. Their lavish lifestyle seemed completely at odds with the behavior of 2 young men mourning a terrible loss. The police were getting suspicious. The brothers' extravagant spending, combined with a lack of any solid leads in the mob hit theory, made them take a closer look at Lyle and Erik. The breakthrough, however, came from a very unexpected source: Erik's therapist, Dr. Jerome Oziel. Erik, weighed down by guilt, had confessed to the murders during his therapy sessions. The problem for the police was that these conversations were protected by doctor-patient confidentiality. But then, the case took another bizarre turn. Dr. Oziel's mistress, Judelan Smith, became a key witness. Fearing for her own safety, she went to the police and told them everything she had overheard, including details of the brothers' confessions. This information gave the police the leverage they needed. In March 1990, about 7 months after the murders, Lyle and Erik Menendez were arrested and charged with the first-degree murder of their parents. The trial that followed became a national sensation. It was one of the first major court cases to be broadcast live on television, and the entire country was glued to their screens. The prosecution painted a simple picture. Lyle and Erik were greedy, spoiled brats who killed their parents to get their hands on the family's $14 million fortune. The spending spree after the murders was their star evidence. They argued it was a cold, calculated act of parricide, driven by nothing more than pure greed. But the defense had a completely different story, one that was far more shocking and complex. Lyle and Erik took the stand and delivered tearful, harrowing testimony. They claimed they had been victims of years of horrific physical, emotional, and psychological abuse at the hands of their father, Jose. They alleged that their mother, Kitty, was aware of the abuse but was either too weak or too afraid to stop it, often turning to alcohol instead. According to the brothers, the night of the murders was the culmination of a lifetime of fear. They claimed they killed their parents in a desperate act of self-defense, believing their father was about to kill them to prevent them from exposing his dark secrets. Their testimony was graphic and detailed, painting a portrait of a deeply dysfunctional and terrifying family life hidden behind the facade of wealth and success. The nation was divided. Who do you believe? Were they cold-blooded killers motivated by greed, or were they traumatized victims pushed to the breaking point? The first trial, which had separate juries for each brother, ended in a deadlock. Both juries were unable to reach a unanimous verdict, resulting in a mistrial. Some jurors believed the abuse claims, while others sided with the prosecution's greed motive. The case had become a national debate about wealth, privilege, and the hidden horrors that can exist within a family. The second trial, which began in 1995, was a different story. This time, there was only one jury for both brothers, and the judge was much stricter. He severely limited the defense's ability to present evidence about the alleged abuse. He ruled that the brothers' state of mind at the time of the killings was the key issue, not their entire life history. Without the extensive abuse testimony, the defense's case was significantly weakened. This time, the prosecution's narrative of greed and entitlement stuck. The jury wasn't as swayed by the abuse claims, which now seemed less central to the case. In 1996, after a much shorter deliberation, the jury found both Lyle and Erik Menendez guilty of first-degree murder. The judge sentenced them to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The brothers, who had been inseparable their whole lives, were sent to different prisons and didn't see each other for over 2 decades. 4 years, the story seemed to have its ending. but interest in the case has never really faded. Books, documentaries, and TV shows have continued to explore the many unanswered questions. Why did the first jury deadlock? How much of the abuse claim was true? Did the media circus influence the outcome? In recent years, the case has seen a resurgence in popularity, especially among younger generations on social media. Many people now view the brothers' claims of abuse with more sympathy than the public did in the 90s. There's a growing movement that believes the brothers' sentences were too harsh and that they should be seen as victims of trauma rather than just greedy killers. Supporters point to new evidence and changing societal attitudes about abuse as reasons to reconsider the case. In 2018, Lyle and Erik were reunited. After years in separate facilities, they were both transferred to the same prison in San Diego. Reports say they had an emotional reunion. They are now housed in the same unit and can interact with each other, a small comfort after decades of separation. The Menendez Brothers story remains one of the most compelling and controversial true crime cases in American history. It forces us to ask difficult questions about justice, family, and the secrets people keep. Was it a calculated crime for money, or a desperate act of survival? Even today, more than 30 years later, the answer depends on who you ask. The story is a stark reminder that the truth is often far more complicated than it first appears. What do you think? Were they villains or victims? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. It's a case that continues to fascinate and divide people to this day. Thanks for watching, and if you found this story interesting, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into unforgettable cases. See you next time.